Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, AM and FM stations touching almost all the entire state of Michigan, and so glad to have you along with us as we continue to move through this wonderful, glorious, beautiful fall season, the month of Rocktober. In my opinion, the absolute best month of the year. So many different things going on. Mother Nature is just alive with color. It just doesn't get any better than this. The only thing wrong with October is it means wintertime is not too far behind. And I can't wrap my brain around that one. I know I should. I know I shouldn't discriminate against any season. I get that. And when I was younger, I absolutely loved the wintertime. But the older I get, I find that I just don't embrace it like I used to. I don't embrace it like I should. And that's on me. That's my fault. That's my mistake. So when I was in the UP last week, it was absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. If it wasn't peak color, it was pretty darned close to being peak color. Absolutely beautiful. I had a great hunt. I was hunting with Johnny Bowler. Hunting in the Newberry district. I had a tag for the third season, and I was hunting just outside of Seney, outside the town of Seney, and just outside the Seney Refuge, actually a few miles, but pretty close. I was there for round 2 of my quest to shoot a Michigan black bear with my recurve. I had been up the week before, hunted for 3 days, 8 hours a day, and didn't see an animal. But the weather conditions were not the greatest when I was up there, and we knew that maybe we were pushing it a little bit. We didn't have the best wind, but the bait had so many bears on it. The trail camera pictures had so many multiple big bears. We thought, I'll go in there as scent-free as possible. I'll spray down. I got a little ozone generator in the blind with me, but it just didn't happen. So in looking at the weather forecast for last weekend when I was up there, it was a north wind, which is exactly what I needed for that bait. Now keep in mind, I'm there with a recurve. I consider my effective range that I feel comfortable with at this point with a recurve is 15 yards. So it's not a long shot. I was set up, the way it just happened to be that my blind was set up 13 yards from that bait. So we knew, being that close, up close and personal, that your room for error is minimal. Now, if I would have been setting up with a gun 50 yards from the bait, it would have been a different ball game. And I'll tell you right now, had I been gun hunting, I would have had a bear by now. And I don't have a bear right now, but I would have been able to take a bear. I have nothing against gun hunting. I love guns, and I love hunting of all methods and manners. But there's something in my psyche right now that makes me want to harvest anything I'm going to hunt, if possible, with a recurve bow. And that stacks the odds against you, but that's okay. That's what I need at this point in my life. So, first night in the blind, cold. It was cold last weekend in the Yup, and there was a north wind. Conditions were absolutely beautiful. The wind died down just before dark, which is what I love. I don't feel like bears move much in the wind. And then my experience has proven that out. And for the last hour and a half sitting there, as it got darker and darker and calmer, I thought, this is too good. There is going to be a bear coming into this bait, because we had him on trail camera. Well, I was gone. Primarily after dark, but some during the daytime as well. Nothing. And that's okay. I honestly, as much as I would like the opportunity to take a bear with my recurve, to sit there for 8 hours and look at God's splendor and clear my mind and think about things and just be out there hunting, it was okay. The second night, the wind was even less. Perfect direction, but almost no wind at all. 6:47. Still broad daylight. I'm sitting in that Wraith 270 see-through ground blind from Primal Tree Stand so I can see what's coming. Nothing can sneak in on me. Off to the left, I see a bear, and I don't care. I don't care how many bears I shoot. I don't care how much time I spend bear hunting. Every bear I see in the wild is a thrill because they come in so silent, so quiet, and they're so black and beautiful. When you see a deer, they kind of blend in with their environment, right? When you see a bear, it jumps out at you because it's black. And it shouldn't be black, right? What else is out there is black except for stumps. So I don't hear him, but I see him come in. And I think, Avery, all these hours of sitting in this blind, all these hours of preparation before the season, all these hours of shooting your recurve, they're going to pay off. The bear comes into the bait, puts his nose down on the bait, and then looks up at me in the blind. But that was okay because I'm camouflaged out. I'm hiding in the back of this blind. He can't see me. He looks up at the blind, and he puts his nose back into the bait. I think, I'm good to go. But after about 3 more seconds, he puts his head back up. He looks off to the right. Now, I don't know why he looked off to the right. He looked off to the right. He paused for just a beat, and then he took off like he got shot. And he didn't get shot because I didn't shoot him. I mean, he took off like a rocket. He came in from the left, and he took off to the right. And I'm thinking, what happened? I don't think I spooked him. Is there a bigger bear back there that spooked him? If so, why didn't he turn around and run the other direction? Why did he run the direction kind of towards the bigger bear? I don't know what spooked him, but I did know this. I knew this in the bottom of my heart. The way he took off, he wasn't coming back. If you get a bear that comes into a bait and they start to eat and they run off or take some bait off into the bush or the woods, they're going to come back. But when they take off like that, I knew that bear wasn't coming back. It was a shooter bear. It wasn't one of the 300-pounders that we had on camera. Judging from the shape of the body, and I didn't get a chance to look real close, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a nice sow just from the body shape. But believe me, had I had a chance to take a shot at that animal, I would have taken a shot at that animal. But it didn't work out. So I had one more night. Now, I could keep hunting till the end of October, but just because of obligations and such and not, I knew I had one more night. Went out there the next afternoon, sat the whole night once again, confident, even though I knew that bear had been spooked from that bait, that there were other bears in the area, thinking one of them is going to come in. But they didn't. I didn't see a bear that night either. So I sat in the blind for more than 40 hours, had a close encounter with one beautiful bear, did not get a shot. So how do I look on this season? Was it somehow not successful because I didn't take an animal? Absolutely not. It was one of the best hunts that I've had in recent memory. I enjoyed every minute of it. Johnny Bowler, my guide, did a wonderful job. He stood up, he rose up to the occasion, and he put a shooter bear in front of me during daylight hours at 13 yards. What more can you ask? The bear just didn't cooperate. I look at this season as an absolute success. I enjoyed it. I was excited about it. I'm comfortable with the way it ended, and I had a wonderful experience. What do I always say? Always here on the show, and if you talk to me, I'll say it in person. It's not the harvest that determines a hunt. It's the experience that is the experience. It's the experience of being out there. It's the experience of challenging yourself to do something maybe that isn't as easy as it could be. It's the experience of sitting in the woods. It's the experience of clearing your head, communing with Mother Nature, thinking about life, thinking about the people who brought you to this point in your life, thinking about previous hunts. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And you can bet now that I will put in for the third season of Newberry District, the Newberry Bear Management Unit, every year. Now, I probably won't get a tag every year, but I likely will get a tag every other year, and I will go back and I will hunt with Johnny Bowler again. It was a riot. An absolute riot. Knowing that I was pushing myself, sitting basically on top of that bait, trying to shoot one with a recurve, it was absolutely wonderful, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Now I changed my challenge from shooting a bear with my recurve to trying to shoot a whitetail with a recurve, which I've never done. I've shot turkeys with a recurve. I have shot a bear in Ontario with a recurve, but I have yet to shoot a whitetail with my recurve. So guess what my next goal is? And I'll be working on that. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit with Johnny Bowler, the Bear Whisperer, about bear hunting, about my hunt, about his deer hunting trips that he offers. And then Matt Poet, you know Matt from Jay's Sporting Goods, but he's wearing his Michigan buckpole hat, talking about that venture. Then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. And hour number 2, we're talking waterfowl hunting with Captain Jeff Godey. Nick Green or someone from MUCC will join me. Also our Ask Avery segment. And in hour number 3, Tom Lounsbury talking about his successful elk hunt and also pheasant season coming up. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats and wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. It's a busy show, and I'm glad you're along with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM. That's 580 AM. You can hear us in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM and our newest affiliate, WIDL 92.1 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. I walked by the Newberry station the other day again while I was up there. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry since 1946. That means next year is their 75th anniversary. 75 years of producing quality products, innovative products for bow hunters and archers. What an accomplishment that is. Boning continues to innovate. They come up with new products for archers and bow hunters. Think the Blazer Vanes and the new iteration of. For more information, check out the website boning.com. That's BOHNING, boning.com. And as we get into 2021, and won't we all be glad to see 2020 go away? As we get into 2021, you will be seeing and hearing a lot of, more about the Boning archery story as they really mount a big PR campaign, as they should, because they're extremely proud of what they've accomplished. Another guy who should be proud of what he's accomplished is Johnny Bowler. When I talked with Johnny about bear hunting with him in the UP, I said, Johnny, here's what we got. We got the third season, which is the only tag I have, which is not the best season to be hunting. And I'm going to be hunting with a recurve bow, which means I need to be close. He said, I can do it. I can do it for you. And he did. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk a little bit more. Johnny, it seems weird not to be up there hunting with you right now.
It sure does, Mike. Nice north wind today, sun shining.
Oh, don't tell me it's a north wind. That's exactly what we need, isn't it?
Oh. Yeah, that's pretty much what we needed. But we're going to change that next time you come up, that's for sure.
I got to tell you, Johnny, even though I didn't take a bear, and I hope you know me well enough to know by now, when I say it really doesn't matter, that I mean that truly, it was a great hunt. I had a riot hunting with you.
After meeting you, Mike, this time on the show, I feel way more comfortable. You taught me a lot. You taught me a lot also. And it was just like having another friend hunting with me. It was great. I mean, It's not always about getting something, but it sure does upset me when somebody doesn't. That's all.
Well, and I understand that. As a hunting guide, I understand that. You want every one of your clients to go home with an animal, but you did your job. You put a shooter bear in front of me in daylight hours at 13 yards. There's nothing more I could ask for, Johnny.
No, but it was great. It really was. We got to get the wolf pictures.
Yes.
You asked me if you were going to get a chance to see a wolf, and you didn't get to see him, but it was on camera anyway.
And we heard a howl. We heard a wolf howl that one day.
Oh, yeah, the first day we went out and set up the blind.
Yeah. Speaking of blinds, we had an interesting situation with the blinds. Originally, we put up blinds on 2 baits. One of them did not get molested, and one of them got just destroyed. What is that all about?
Well, one, I think we had a lot of bear there.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 together, for sure, we knew, and possibly 3 to 4 other ones. And I think they were just curious.
Yep. And we had to pull a little trick on them. We had to leave the one blind out there and let them just destroy it. And then the night before I hunted, come in with a new blind. Otherwise, I'd have had nothing to sit in. It was all in shreds, pretty much.
Yeah, that one didn't fare out too good.
No,
it was
didn't.
Strange. A little different when we put the other one out there. They never touched it at all.
Never touched it. And people should note, we did leave the other one out. It had been out to air out. It wasn't like we took a brand new blind that smelled like the factory. It had been sitting outside for a month to get aired out. So that's important to note. We had, before the season, you had a lot of pictures of big bear, multiple bears on that bait in the daylight. And then the first round, when I came up, the activity really slowed down. What do you think that was about?
Well, to be honest with you, I think our wind was really bad for us. What they should have been, the actual human scent being there hot and fresh is way different than, I believe, baiting and leaving.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have to worry with my daughter baiting, me baiting. I had Kevin bait a couple days while I was gone. And so all the different scents didn't have nothing to do with it. I just think that they weren't comfortable and they wouldn't come in.
Yeah. And I was as scent-free as I could be, but I don't think, some people would disagree with me on this, but I don't think a person can ever be completely scent-free. And looking back on it, Johnny, I think you're right. I think you and I both knew that bait was so good, and we wanted it to happen so bad that we might have just forced it a little bit too much that first round in there on a south wind.
Well, look what happened when you come back with the north wind.
Yeah.
I mean, and the good thing is that I promised you I'd have them in there by daylight by Tuesday.
And you did.
And sure enough, they were back here at daylight.
And also, I should note, too, that if I would have decided to hunt a different way, for example, you had a ground blind set up about 50 yards from that bait, a permanent blind. If I would have decided to come in there with a shotgun or a rifle, there's no doubt that I would have been able to take a bear, but that's just not the way I wanted to do it, Johnny.
Nope. And I respect that, Mike. I mean, I don't change the hunters from what they're doing. If that's how they want to hunt, that's how they want to hunt. But there are some that I try to talk out because I just know that there's no way they're going to get a bear.
Yeah.
And I just try to help them out because that are people that have never hunted bears before. It's a total different ball game when it comes to bear hunting.
And I will tell you this. I think after watching the behavior of that bear that came in on me, and I'd always heard this before, but I didn't believe it, I think Michigan bears are different than Canada bears. I think Michigan bears are a little more on edge than the ones way up north.
You would know more about that. Mike, I've never been to Canada, never hunted. I've had a lot of people that hunted from Canada, and I can honestly say thank you. You didn't try to do anything different with my baits, as most of them that do go to Canada try to change something because this is how they do it in Canada, and it's not that way here.
Well, I've always thought, listen, if a guy is baiting for a month and doing it in a particular way, why would a hunter come in and want to change that at the last minute? To me, it doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all. No.
Do you have any hunters still out now, Johnny, or are you done?
No, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty much done. I had a lady that was going to come back, but there's just the bears they're hard to get in a daylight right now, and they're getting ready to a lot more deer hunting going on. People getting ready for rifle season, getting baits in the woods, and so they got other sources of food.
Yeah.
And then it's just hard to keep them on the bait pile.
When do your bears there in the Upe start to think about getting ready to den up?
I try to go by Oswald's Bear Ranch. Although them bears are in captivity and they get food whenever they want, but it's still they're right here in the UP. It's got to be kind of similar. And when I contact Dean and he says, the bears are, over half of the bears are hibernating, and I'm pretty sure that the ones up here out in the wild have to be, there's still going to be some running around. There's going to be some dog hunters that get more bears, but that's how it happens,
So the third season is not necessarily the best option. However, Johnny, after hunting with you, I was telling folks earlier that what I'm going to do from now on is I'm going to put in for the third season in the Newberry Bear Management Unit every year. I probably won't get a tag every year, but I likely will get one every other year, and I'm willing to take my chances. I would rather do that than wait 9 years for the first season. At least I can be out there every other year. Well,
sure. It's definitely a harder hunt, but as you know, when you came back the second time, Justin Bukovich, he got his bear, and so it's and yours were there,
mm-hmm.
and it's just a little bit harder. They're not like September 9th or a September 15th tag.
Yeah. And we knew that. Hey, you also run some deer hunters, don't you?
I have a couple, yeah.
Well, tell me about that side of the operation, because in the UP you can bait, and it's my sense that if you didn't bait in the UP, you wouldn't see any deer.
It'd be pretty hard, Mike. There's naysayers and there's whatever, but I always like to say you hunt how you want to hunt, and if you like the bait, put the bait out and you will see deer. In other words, you can go set runways, but I mean, no, you're gonna, if you want to, I can guarantee to see deer, maybe not a buck. You can go set out and on a bait, and you can watch deer every day, which that's what I like to do. I like to see deer, or as you know, I can go out and just enjoy myself without taking anything to the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Don't matter.
How is your deer population, and do you think wolves have had any impact on that at all?
Well, there's some places you see a few deer. There's some places, like I went over to Gould City, that's 30 miles from here, and I actually seen a lot of deer. But I think right around the Seney area, and I'm sure there's other parts of the state, in the UP, that they give the wolves are really giving them a run for the money.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get a bad winter, what people don't realize when they say, well, we didn't get much snow. Well, when the deer are down the deer yards and they take the feeding away in the deer yards, the deer got to go back to the old cedars and whatever else they can get. And when you don't have much snow, them branches are still 10 feet from years before that they've been chewing on.
Yeah.
And so the food's not there.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, I tell you, I had a wonderful time. You did a great job. You did exactly what I could have asked you to do, and I look forward to coming back maybe next year, but certainly in a couple of years, and we'll see if we can't get that bear down with a recurve.
Well, we're sure going to give a try at it, Mike. Now that we know what we got to look forward to, and maybe a couple more setups for our favor, then I believe that it's going to happen.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll happen.
I'll be glad that I'm the one that got you, and you got yourself a Michigan black bear.
All right, Johnny, I appreciate that. Johnny Bowler, a bear guide from the UP and an all-around great guy. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Matt Poet from Michigan Buckpole. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in, let's go to Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM. And then let's go north of the bridge to Sault Ste. Marie, ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Hunter Safety System. Please, please, please do not go up a tree without a full body harness. There's no excuse these days not to. I recommend Hunter Safety System. I know these guys. They're friends of mine. I've been working with them since they started the company, and they're Michigan guys who grew up hunting and fishing in Southeast Michigan. They are the originators of this category, and I think they still make the best product out there. But I'll tell you, and the folks from Hunter Safety System will tell you, if you're not going to wear their products, please wear somebody's, but wear a full body harness. If you want to find Hunter Safety System products, you can find them at Jay's Sporting Goods and then online at huntersafetysystem.com. That's huntersafetysystem.com. Speaking of Jay's, I want to talk right now with Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods, but he's wearing his Michigan Buckpole hat this time. Matt, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. Before we get into Michigan Buckpole, let's talk a little bit about how things are at Jay's right now. It's got to be a busy, exciting time of year and kind of a nice break after going through a rough spring like we all did.
Yeah, it's been a busy fall. As everyone knows, everything's kind of limited, so some restrictions are being lifted, but so we have a limited number of entries, but that's changing. But that doesn't stop people from coming. We've seen lines outside on the weekends that we haven't seen in years. So it just tells you that everybody's getting back to their roots and getting outside.
And I think that maybe is one good thing from this situation is people are looking to get back to maybe what they grew up with, what gives them comfort. And the outdoor industry and the outdoors in general is one area that's really benefiting from this, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're stuck inside through the whole spring, and things start getting canceled, a lot of sporting events in Michigan, you can only have 2 people per, high school athlete going into a venue. So that really limits the number and the spectators. And so there's just not anything to do. So I think it's freeing up a lot of time, and people are starting to realize, man, I miss this stuff, fishing,
Sure.
getting on the river, getting on the lake, getting in the tree. So I think it's been a very good, it's been a blessing, I think, all around for the industry, and I think for the people that are able to enjoy the outdoors again.
That's wonderful to hear. So listen, you folks at Jay's Sporting Goods have a very close relationship with the folks over at Michigan Buckpole, mibuckpole.com. Tell me about what you guys at Michigan Buckpole are doing. It seems to me in some ways it's kind of replacing the old buckpole that we go down to the local gas station or bar and look at, but this is a way to share your trophies online virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been helping them out now for a couple of years. It is replacing the new buckpole. I guess it's the new buckpole. It's a virtual one, but you can see what people are harvesting all over the state, which is really cool. You can go online and you can filter the harvest, so you can see, okay, what day was it harvested, what county was it harvested, what time of day was it harvested. So there's, how was it harvested? Was it harvested with a crossbow or a rifle, or so just a lot of neat features. And everybody, we hate to admit it, but usually when we're out in the woods, we're on our phones. So, we're passing time as we're out there, whether it's answering emails or looking things up. This is a great place that a lot of people go to see what luck other people are having out in the woods.
And I think it's cool. You can go to your county where you live or your property up north or wherever, where you hunt, and you can see what people in that area are taking.
Absolutely. A lot of people know my Buckpole from social media. They've seen us on Facebook and Instagram. But our actually main focus has always been the website. You get to see a lot of stuff on social media, but if you go to our website, there's actually more harvest there. So we post as much as we can. We try to keep up. Once rifle season, we're getting several hundred submissions a day. So we just kind of go through them. But yeah, if you go to the website, mibuckpole.com, there is a map of Michigan there, and you can click on your county, and it tells you, how many submissions there have been. And then once you click that, it sorts all the deer in that county, and then you can filter it from there. Like I said, with time of day or method harvested and all that. And then it's really cool. You get to see the stories and just the quality of animals being harvested.
Well, and we do see a lot of big bucks, but I think it's wonderful that you also look at, if it's a trophy to you, it's a trophy to us. You're not looking for just monster racks. If it's somebody's first buck or a kid's first kill or whatever, you want to celebrate. You want to celebrate the harvest overall, right?
Absolutely. If it's a legally harvested deer, who's to judge on if it's a quality shot or not? It's up to you, the hunter. If you have a legally harvested deer, and it's a trophy to you, that's what we're all about. So it doesn't matter. So, we do block people on our Facebook page and stuff like that who tend to share their opinion, and, opinions are fine to you.
But not on your Facebook page. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So, it happens. We hate to do that, but, we do see it, and, it's a bummer. It's all about promoting and building up the community. We're not, we're for, quality discussions, but we're not here to bash on people.
Absolutely.
We posted one yesterday that a young lady had harvested a beautiful whitetail, but she, in her post, she had put that she baited. Everybody was, hey, you can't bait. Well, she's in the UP where you can.
There you go. So, Matt Poe, listen, I got to let you go. Sorry about that. Matt Poe at Michigan Buckpole, mibuckpole.com, mibuckpole.com, also on Facebook and Instagram, and don't forget jsportinggoods.com as well. We'll take a break. Tom Campbell coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM 1240, 100.7 FM. In fact, I was listening to Big Country Gold as I was driving through that area. And you can also hear us north of the bridge in Ishpeming, WIAN 1240 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. I'm a big fan of the folks at Linwood Beach. They do a great job. They have great facilities on a beautiful piece of Saginaw Bay. And if you're looking to get the boat winterized or shrink-wrapped or stored, or if you want a jumping-off spot for a fall waterfowl hunting, fall fishing, or ice fishing, if that season comes around, Linwood Beach can take care of you. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. While you're online, of course, check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and always check out woods-and-waternews.com. That is the website of Woods and Water News, Michigan's premier outdoor publication. Tom Campbell, one of the big reasons for that, with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Last time we were going to talk, you were heading up north to have some fun. Did you have any luck?
Well, always. A day up north is much better than a day in the office, right? That's
absolutely.
That old saying, and we live by that. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We didn't. We're not going to get any master angler patches or anything like that, but we did have a lot of laughs, and we caught some fish, and
Wonderful.
We had a good time.
And isn't it also wonderful to be able to work in a business that is your passion? So many people dread going to work, but I feel like you guys at Woods and Water News, after all these years, more than 30 years, it's still a passion. You still like what you're doing,
Absolutely.
Don't you?
That's right, Mike. Yeah, you're not a kid. Sometimes you get frustrated because today you feel like you're pinned down behind a computer screen a little bit too much. But when you do, it's always, and the phone's going to ring, and someone's going to have a great story about a deer hunt, a bear hunt, a fishing trip that they took. So it breaks you up. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We do get to do what we love to do, and you can't beat that.
And you love hearing these great stories from your readers, don't you?
That's right. We do, absolutely. In fact, this morning I was just reading the story about the lady that may have set the state record for bear with her 622-pound bear.
Brenda Raymond, she was on the show last week.
Oh, was she? Fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's a great story too. Bringing in the dog hunters to bail her out, and then shooting the bear on the ground at 6 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I said that. I blew that photo up, and I go, 18 feet from that thing? Holy cow. Yeah, so you're right. It is, and it motivates you, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing, too.
Will we read that story in an upcoming issue?
You will see it in the November issue, which will
nice.
be out in about a week from now, Mike. Absolutely. So, yeah, Richard Smith did that piece for us. Richard loves to do those bear pieces. He's authored several books on bear hunting, so he is an expert at it. And so that'll be in that November issue, and we'll have a lot of great stories in that November issue. In fact, there's quite a few bear stories. A lot of a Boone and Crockett bear that was taken last year. Richard touches on that, finishes that story up. So. Yeah.
Well, but being the November issue, I'm sure there's a lot of deer hunting stories in there.
You got that right. Absolutely. Yeah, we got a great piece on those bold bucks in hunting those bold bucks in November, when that testosterone level gets up there, and you never know what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and it's time to be in the stand maybe all day if you can, and yeah, that's a great piece. And another great piece on deer hunting is learning a lot of times. In fact, I just did it myself. I got a new piece of property, and I moved some stands around this week. And it is Adam Lewis did a piece on hunting that stand for the first time, and what you should look for and what you should do, and great tips for people. And that'll be in that November issue as well, Mike.
That's an interesting comparison, sitting in a new stand for the first time versus going back to the old stand, the old tree, the old site that you've hunted for years. That is actually pretty interesting, Tom.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely. And when we, sometimes when we were doing it, we kept talking, it'll be a learning experience. It's just it's an observation chance, it might bust. It might not, if we did our homework right, it should work out. But something about those deer never follow the right instructions that I'm supposed to give them. But,
deer, bear,
right.
turkeys, I don't care what it is. They don't read our script.
No, they don't, do they?
No, they don't. Well, Tom, you guys at Woods and Water News, you do a wonderful job of documenting this outdoor experience, of sharing and celebrating this experience. You stay above the turmoil. You stay above the drama. You always take the high road, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, that's pretty much the philosophy. That's that's exactly what we want to do, and the other people can take those other battles on, and we certainly want to make sure we inform people of those battles going on for sure. But you're right, we don't need to do all that negative stuff for sure. Absolutely.
And I appreciate that, Tom. Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News, the website woods-n-waternews.com. You can also find him on Facebook. You can find him on Instagram. I know that for a fact because when I do stories with him, I tag those guys, and there they are. So I know they're there. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk with Captain Jeff Godey of the Michigan Experience, but not talking about walleye fishing, although I suspect when I'm talking with Jeff, the topic is going to come up. But he's also a waterfowl guide. I want to talk about that. Then Sean Mckeon from MUCC will join me, and this week's Ask Avery question sent in from a friend of mine. That's all coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed. This is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show. Right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, AM and FM stations across the great state of Michigan, with the goal to talk about, to promote, to encourage the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan, and occasionally beyond, period. And what a wonderful time of year it is. This month of Rocktober is just my favorite time of year. Mother Nature is beautiful. I was in the UP last week. It was absolutely gorgeous. We're seeing those colors downstate now. I love this time of year. And I do need to point out, too, and 5 years ago, I never would have had to do this, but these days I do have to make sure that you realize this. And maybe it's not important to you, but it is to me. Outdoor Magazine Radio is a radio show. It's also available as a podcast, but it is a radio show. It is designed, recorded, produced, scheduled, distributed as a radio show. And why is that a big deal? Because there aren't that many radio shows out there. This is one of a few in the state, very few now, that is a statewide, outdoor-based radio show that is available on your local AM or FM station. And I say the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station. But if not, yes, I do make the show available as a podcast. Everybody has a podcast, and I got a bunch of them too, including the podcast version of the radio show. And I love podcasting. Don't get me wrong. I love podcasting. It's a great way to reach people. But it doesn't reach as many people as the radio show does. But if you can't hear the radio show, you can hear the podcast version of the show on my website, which is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear it on my Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page. We're now available on Amazon Music. You can find it on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Radio.com, a couple of more that I'm working on. Really, anywhere you get your podcasts from, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine Radio show. But regardless of how you hear my voice, thank you. I do certainly appreciate it. One of the things I enjoy most about this show is the fact that I get to talk with interesting people. And that's a lot of fun to me. People in all different aspects of the outdoor industry, the outdoor world, including Captain Jeff Godey of the Michigan Experience. Now, I talk to Jeff a lot about walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay. In fact, when I'm having a slow day, I don't hesitate to shoot Jeff a text and say, help me out. But he's also a waterfowl guide, and that's the crux of the conversation today. Well, that and more, as Captain Jeff joins us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Cap, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Mike, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on again.
Pleasure. Listen, I don't hear any wind noise. Did you not go out today?
No, I am actually on the boat, but it's not like we would all hope. I'm in the marina, kind of breaking everything down, and we're going to pull the boat out here as soon as we get off the air. So we're pulling out the charter boat, the Baja, and ramping up for this duck opener on Saturday. So getting a lot of things done in a short period of time.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the walleye fishing this year. What kind of a season was it for you?
Well, when we were allowed to fish, the fish were there. We won't go into that. But, the fish were there. I think it was a tougher weather year as I look back on some wind cancellations, and especially, late summer. I fiddled around up north of Scotia for a little bit, and September was a bust up there for wind. But all in all, enjoyable year. People were anxious to get out. I mean, they couldn't wait to get out. I think a lot of people had a lot of time. So it was a good season. But numbers-wise, I'm sure I'll be down just because trip numbers were down.
Yeah. I do want to. Did you stick with spoons all summer, or did you venture off into something else?
This year, I think I ran more. I know I ran more spoons and jets close to the boat. Usually three boards on either side with spoons and jets, and then flicker shad, flicker minnows on the outside boards. And those combinations just seem to work well. I'm always amazed at how close to the boat I'll catch a walleye on a jet diver. And the customers are always amazed. That inside board goes quite often. We're running 7 boards on the side, if we have enough people to do it. The first 3 boards our jet divers and spoons typically, and that was a very effective means of catching walleye this year. But the flicker minnows and the flicker shads, well, you can't deny that.
Yeah.
And we can run them, speeds 2.3, 2.6, 2.7, in that range a lot. It works.
I expect you're going to catch fish close to the boat if you're fishing coho or muskies, but walleye is kind of a surprise.
It is, but they tolerate it. Sometimes I swear they're attracted to the boat noise, because we're thumping one of the, the big motors, the 350 is always thumping either the port or starboard side. So, yeah, it doesn't seem to bother them. I guess when they're hungry, they're hungry.
Yeah.
And when they're not, they're not.
Ain't that the truth? Also want to follow up a little bit on, and maybe this was just last year or just the last few years, as the walleye fishing on the bay has slowed down late in the summer. You've taken that trip up the coast. Tell me more about that.
That's been, I guess for me, it was a neat change of pace, after chasing walleye for 3 months or so, to go up north and see a fish jump is pretty cool. We got a couple steelhead this year, smaller ones. But, I ran up to Oscoda, and, they're doing some things with plants. Obviously, Atlantics, they've been dumping in. The steelhead are there. And I think coho are on the agenda. They did some, and I think that's on every other year. So I was just looking for something a little different. And, traditionally, the walleye thing can slow down here, mid-August. So instead of going on the west side, I ran up there, and I think there's some from some of my customers. I think there's a little romanticism of the old Oscoda days. So we're not boating big kings and coho and things like that. But Lakers, walleye, steelhead, an occasional Atlantic. Got a few pinks this year. I did catch a couple of small kings. So it was a fun year. The variety is great, and I'm seeing a lot of the same people I see here in the summer come up there to try something different. So it was a fun year, and deal a lot with Carla and Ross up at Wellman's there in Oscoda. They're hanging on. That town's missing the king salmon fishery. There's no doubt about it. But it's fun and a neat change of pace for me.
Well, I think about that change of pace in a mixed bag. It's wonderful to go out in the bay and fish for walleye, but that's pretty much what you're going to catch. But up there off Oscoda, as you're talking about, you really don't know what you're going to run into.
Yeah, and that is a fact. And the folks are always amazed. We'll come in. One day, I know we had walleye, we had kings, Atlantic, pink, lake trout. It seems like I'm missing something. I'd have to look at the picture. But, yeah, we had, I think 5 different species that day. So,
that's
good. Yeah. It was a good time.
And I find it interesting because I was just thinking about this the other day myself. Is there used to be a time when Lake Huron, northern Lake Huron, was a hot spot for kings, and Oscoda was as hot as it got. I hope those days can come back. I don't know, but it is a different ball game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just with the forage base there. They're not dumping any kings, really in that area. I think there's some tribal decree or something where they have to put some in Swan River near Rogers City or Alpena there. They have to plant some kings. But the ones, I believe the ones we're getting are maybe some natural kings that still come in and out of the river there, some throwbacks from, the natural stuff. So, yeah, it is neat. I like the variety, and you just like to see that town continue. They do get more kings north. I know that, Rogers City, up the coast. I think the farther north you get, the more kings they're catching. But, I've seen some smelt when we're cleaning fish. Seeing some smelt.
Nice.
When we clean them. So that's a good sign. I'd like to see that come back.
Will you, and we'll talk about waterfowl hunting here after the break. It's coming up here in a couple of minutes. But will you run ice fishing charters this winter on the bay, Mother Nature allowing?
I will not. I'll probably fish with my buddies, but, I don't know, maybe you had an effect on me. No, I just told myself, a year and a half ago that I was done with that chartering. So I've been farming out the trips to some of my friends when I get the calls. I still do it, our guiding. But yeah, I told myself, hey, it's been a good run, and I think I'm done with that. Maybe I'm getting old. 54 now.
Are you, well, we're all getting older. There's no doubt about that. And I get it because it is an reliable fishery. I mean, you can count on you're going to get a certain number of charters on the bay in the summertime. You're going to get some blow days, but overall, you're going to be able to get out there. If you're basing part of your business on Saginaw Bay ice, you don't know what Mother Nature's going to throw at you.
Yeah. Well, last couple of years, I think we do know.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, it is. It's tough. And so, that's the time of year where I tuck in here with the guys at Linwood Beach Marina, and I help the guys out here, and we're able to get out there and chase some fish around when there is ice.
And it's nice to be able to fish for fun and not have to do it as a job. We're talking with Captain Jeff Godey of the Michigan Experience, themichiganexperience.com, themichiganexperience.com. He's based out of Linwood Beach Marina, linwoodbeachmarina.com. We've got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, finally get around to the topic of waterfowl hunting. I know Jeff and his dad were up north for the UP opener a little while ago. They're getting ready for the Saginaw Bay opener this weekend. As you're hearing the radio show, we'll talk about that and more with Captain Jeff Godey of the Michigan Experience, themichiganexperience.com, right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Flint on Super Talk 1570 WWCK. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ, that's 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website. That's MUCC.org, MUCC.org. And as a reminder, if you'd like to save 25% on your MUCC membership, either your renewal or your initial membership, use the promo code MIKE, all caps, MIKE, all caps, and save 25% on your membership at MUCC.org. While you're online, I would encourage you to check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and then check out themichiganexperience.com. Themichiganexperience.com is the website of Captain Jeff Godey. He is a well-known Saginaw Bay walleye charter captain, but he also runs waterfowl trips in the fall. And, Jeff, you told me you were recently up in the UP for their opener as well. How did that go?
It was a great time to visit with my dad and some friends. Where we hunt, it was a little slow this year, but we're not going to a duck focused area. A buddy of mine's got a place up there in the UP, and we're able to pull the boats up on the beach, or what's left of the beach, at the end of the hunt. And so a good time, an annual event. I think it's 21, 22 years in a row for us up there. And yeah, but we didn't see many divers down, ringers, bluebills, which are, I guess, not doing as well this year population-wise. No divers for us, where we usually get a bunch of those, mostly mallards, a few wood ducks, widgeon, so... Yeah, but always a good time.
Well, exactly. Sure. And when you bring this up, I feel the need to follow up on it, because our friends listening who are non-hunters, they're not hunters. I think sometimes they don't understand this, is that we don't have to have a harvest. We don't have to put something down to have a good hunt. It sounds to me like you guys had a great hunt and you didn't put that many birds down.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, we got a little tradition. Get up there Friday night's BLT night, Saturday night steak night, Sunday night, God willing, duck gumbo night. So 21 years in a row, that menu pretty much. We know what we're doing. And we got a log book that we've had running for 21 years, which is always a giggle. We go through there, and kind of, check everybody's lies and, always kind of wondering what happened. And, hey, didn't we shoot a bunch of these one year? And so that log book has been a lot of fun, a lot of cool memories. So
yeah, that's wonderful. That's
good
wonderful.
Times.
And your season here on the Bay is opening this weekend as folks are hearing the show, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, Saturday, and I call that Family Day. So it's the day I take out family and get room for a couple of friends. I tell them, hey, we're out here to hunt, but this is also the chance for me to say if I forgot to do something or I need to fix something, this is the day we figure it out. So
Yeah.
We bring the screw gun and a few things out just in case. But we usually get some birds, and again, I've done that since I've started my business. Gotta get the family out, and so it'll be my dad, my daughter, my buddy from UP, and I believe his grandson this Saturday.
I like the idea of a shakedown cruise, though, too. It gives you a chance to work all the bugs out and make sure you're good to go before you get the paid clients on board.
That's right. So, yeah, it's worked out well, and we seem like we're always catching something. I take a pad and pen out there and write down a few things that we forgot to do, or maybe something we can improve upon.
What's your setup like? What's your? Hey, I know your walleye boat, that big, beautiful. I think it's a Baja, isn't it? What's your Doug hunting rig look like?
A couple years ago, I purchased a Sea Arc. So we got a big modified V 24-foot Sea Arc. I've got a 90 tiller on there, a nice 90 Mercury 4-stroke, and that's what we're hunting out of. I had a blind for a few years, but with this high water levels, it just became tough on that floating blind. Rocking around, deeper water, bigger waves, just everything was rougher. So, yeah, we're hunting out of the boat, and we can move around a little bit, maybe hide on those really windy days. We can hide behind some cover and smooth out the ride or the sit for everybody. So,
well, it's probably less work, isn't it? Too easier too. You don't have to maintain that blind out there.
It is, and I was concerned when we got rid of the blind. I thought, well, I'm probably going to lose a few of my fellows to, the fact that we're hunting out of this big boat. And, you can't stand up in it and be covered by the roof and everything. But last year was the first year I did not have the blind in, and everybody came back. So I guess things are working out well.
How have the high water levels affected waterfowl hunting out there on Saginaw Bay and probably the rest of the Great Lakes as well?
Well, we've got a couple of theories on that. Some buddies and I have been talking, and the shallows that we were shooting some redheads in and things like that aren't so shallow anymore. So I guess maybe the birds have to work a little harder to get their feed, and they may be changing some patterns around. So I do like the mobility of this boat. It's going to allow me to move in shallower if that's where the birds are. If they're staging in certain areas, we can chase them down now instead of being stuck to one spot with a big anchor and a blind. So I'm seeing maybe a change, and it's basically I feel based on water depth. So
I don't pretend to be a waterfowl hunter. I have done it before, so I'm familiar with it, but I don't know. So this question I'm going to ask you might even be stupid, and if so, I apologize. Is there because we're talking about water depth, is there a water depth that you want? I mean, what would your ideal depth be that you'd set up to hunt birds in, or does that vary from day to day? We hunt some shallow flats, and I love water that I can wade in. You can tweak your decoy spread. Right now we're setting from the boat with long lines, and even when we set shallow water, we ran a lot of long lines. It's a pretty effective way to get a lot of decoys in the water. But to be able to hop out and set things or tweak them the way you want is a lot easier. One thing for me, running dog, my retrievers, if the dog gets in a bind in the long lines, I mean, it's easy to jump out of the boat and get them untangled. Now, with the deeper water, you can't jump out of the boat. I got you. Sure. Yep.
So, we got to drive into the spread and now you risk tangling things up and prop and decoy lines. So, it's definitely a lot easier in shallower water.
Gotcha.
And time will tell if it's more, effective as far as birds being in those areas.
You talked about your decoy spread. In waterfowl hunting, can you say whether your dekes are more important than calling or more important than location? I mean, what's the hierarchy here? What determines what's the best way to increase your odds of getting birds on a given day?
Species kind of dictates the decoy spread. So I'm mostly hunting offshore, and so we're hunting diving ducks, redheads, bluebills, the old squaw when they're in here, things like that. So big decoy spreads, they're not typically as vocal, as the puddle ducks. So for me, decoys are number one. When we see mallards or puddle ducks, we will call because we always have some of those decoys in the spread. But definitely decoys for diving ducks. For puddle ducks in a marsh, I think location is huge, and then probably a nice decoy spread in the spot where they traditionally hang out, and then maybe some calling to finish it. But, a lot of people, that duck call, I think that duck call in the guy's mouth saves a lot of ducks' lives.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. What about, do you target geese? Do you get an incidental harvest of geese, or are the geese gone pretty much by the time you get out there?
Open water and geese can be a little tougher. When I'm seeing geese, I'll put a few out, and they react to the call. We've called geese into just all open water duck spreads a mile or two offshore. And always amazing when that happens. It must be fresh birds just down that fall for that. But along the marshes, certainly the geese tend to sit a little closer to shore. They can tip up and dabble. And again, that I've seen a little change on that as well, because again, with the water being a little bit deeper, they're not able to tip up and get down to the bottom. So,
yeah.
Most of the goose hunting is done on land. It's definitely easier and more effective. There's no doubt about it.
It's waterfowl hunting to me is one of those things that is so rich in the history and tradition. It gets in people's bloods. They pass it down from generation to generation. But it's not one of those things where I feel like you can go out and learn it on your own. You need somebody to help get you started, it seems.
Yeah, I think a mentor is a good thing. Hopefully, somebody gets the right one that can pass on some good habits. Things we see, people shooting at birds just too far away. It's amazing. Sky busting is the term. They're shooting at birds that are so high that you might bring the bird down with a broken wing or a shot to the head or neck, but sticking a pellet or two in the body is always a tough thing. So getting birds within effective range and learning what that effective range is, for somebody that's new. I mean, a goose can look pretty big in the air, and then you start shooting at them, and they don't seem so big, and they don't seem so close.
Well, obviously closer is better, but what is, with the gear you're running these days, what do you figure your effective range is on a bird, a duck?
When I call the shot for my people, I like to make sure these birds, we're trying to shoot decoying birds, and they just more, a better chance for a clean kill. And 35 yards is and inside is pretty nice. If we got a single bird, it's 40 or 45 yards. If I've got 4 guns on that bird, I'll call that shot. But I like to get the birds in close, just cleaner kill, and everything works out easier. If you got to chase birds around the boat, you're losing hunting time. So
yeah, it all makes sense.
I like 35 years.
Well, Captain, always a pleasure to talk with you, whether it's walleye fishing or salmon fishing or waterfowl hunting or anything else. You're an interesting guy, and I enjoy our talks here on the radio show and in person.
Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
All right, Captain Jeff Godey of The Michigan Experience. You can check him out online at themichiganexperience.com, themichiganexperience.com. If you want to go waterfowl hunting with Jeff on Saginaw Bay this fall, you can contact him through that website. Don't look for any ice fishing trips, but if you're looking towards next spring and summer, I'd keep Captain Jeff in mind. Captain Jeff Godey of The Michigan Experience. He's based out of Linwood Beach Marina. I love those guys. LinwoodBeachMarina.com, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Sean Mckeon from MUCC, their education director. He's got a couple things he wants to talk about, and then this week's Ask Avery segment. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 2 stations, 92.1, the Twister WTWS, and 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. By the way, they're celebrating 8 years they've been an affiliate with me now at this point. I was thinking about this. Some of my stations, I'd have to go through the list. I think some of them have been with me 20 years now. Wow. I'm old. And you can hear the show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to become a charter captain, I think this is your best option. This is how I did it. Now, I'm not a working captain, but I am a licensed captain. I could not have done it without the folks at Great Lakes Charter Training. Captain Mel Stackpool and Captain John Littlefield walked me through the class. They got me so where I could pass the Coast Guard test. They showed me how to go through all the jump through all the hoops as far as the paperwork and the tests and the drug tests and all this other stuff. And now I got my license. And I feel pretty proud of that, actually. So if you're interested in doing the same, I would highly, strongly recommend Great Lakes Charter Training. The website, glctraining.com. That's glctraining.com. Again, while you're online, check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and check out this website, mucc.org. mucc.org is kind of the a clearinghouse for all things MUCC, conservation, outdoor recreation, their on-the-ground program, and much more. And Sean Mckeon of MUCC is with us now on the phone line. Sean, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. Looking forward to Waterfowl opener this weekend down here and doing well.
We were just talking about the Waterfowl opener out on Saginaw Bay, so you're not alone in your excitement. I wish you nothing but luck this weekend.
Well, I appreciate it. I could use some good luck.
Couldn't we all? Hey, I hear On the Ground is back up and running, the On the Ground, the OTG program?
Yeah, we officially were unpaused at the end of the fiscal year for the state in September, and we started booking up our calendar as soon as we got that news. So we have 3 events for October. One was completed yesterday. So yeah, we're very excited to be back and partnering with the DNR to improve public land all around the state.
What was the one that you just completed? Where were you at?
Yeah, so yesterday we went to the Fulton State Game Area over on the southwest side of the state. We planted 350 trees to reclaim some old farmland in that state game area. They're trying to reforest the area. So we were planting dogwoods and spruce trees to improve some habitat for upland birds and deer.
Dogwood. I'm a little surprised at dogwood, but I don't pretend to be a biologist either.
Yeah, and that was what the DNR ordered for us. So I think there's a couple lower patches in the field that we were in that are a little bit moister. So that's where we put the dogwoods themselves.
And you bring up an interesting point, too, is that you guys are working in cooperation with the DNR. They make the recommendations. They're the experts, and you provide the manpower. Is that how it works, Sean?
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So we reach out to the biologists and the wildlife technicians all around the state, and they have kind of a to-do list every year of what they are trying to manage the habitats for that they're in charge of. And so we say, hey, what do you need the bodies to get done? Is it a tree planting project? Is it a wood duck box installation? Do you need help with all kinds of different habitat projects? Rabbitat is a pretty popular one, especially in the wintertime.
You know, I love that.
Yeah. So those are some of the projects we do, and the biologists are the ones who are in charge of the management plans for the area, so we work directly with them to achieve their goals.
I would think that this type of partnership is going to become even more important as funding for the DNR continues to dry up because of the funding drying up in Lansing because of COVID in general.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely reach out. MUCC is kind of the big driver on the volunteer coordinating side, and we partner on similar projects with RGS and National Wild Turkey Federation, so Rough Grouse Society and WTF. We do a lot of projects in conjunction with them. So Turkey Federation will purchase crabapple trees, and then we'll coordinate the volunteers to put the crabapple trees out on the public land. And so that's one of the projects that we have coming up on the 24th of this month. We're going to be up in Kalkaska near Johnson Lake, and we're going to be planting 90 crabapple trees in partnership with several different conservation groups to try to stretch that dollar for the DNR and still make an impact for the wildlife.
So that's the next one coming up, the 24th up near Kalkaska. What's the one after that?
So we got one in between yesterday. We're going to be at Petersburg State Game Area on the 10th, which is this Saturday coming up. Yeah, and so for that one, we're working with the Nature Conservancy and the department down in the southeast corner, and we're going to be planting native wildflowers, the blazing star flower specifically, to work on some habitat for upland birds, pollinators, and the blazing star borer moth, which is a species of special concern.
Well, some folks actually won't even hear this show till after that event is over, so I think we should concentrate primarily on that one in Kalkaska. How does somebody get involved in this project? Sean?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get signed up and be a volunteer is to go to the MUCC On the Ground website, so mucc.org/ontheground, and the registration is there with all the information as far as where to park and what to bring. But MUCC will be supplying all the equipment as far as the shovels for digging. We're going to cage the trees. We'll provide lunch and a T-shirt, and then we'll also be making sure all of our volunteers and staff are comfortable in the COVID time. So it's an outdoor event. We'll socially distance effectively, but it's definitely a good way to get outside and spend a Saturday morning out in the woods.
Wonderful. I'm glad that On the Ground is up and running. I wish you nothing but luck, and I'll ask you to continue to let us know when these projects are coming up, mucc.org/ontheground. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, have a great one, Mike.
You as well. Good luck there in the marsh, the Duck Marsh as well. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment, dealing with antlerless tags in the CWD zone. Anyway, we'll have that coming up after the break right here in Outdoor Magazine. And hour number 3, Tom Lounsbury, Nick Grillo, and Dave Miner, all coming up yet this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Mount Pleasant on WMMI, AM and FM, 830 AM, 92.3 FM. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ, 97.7 FM. And north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. And a reminder, the way the Ask Avery segment works is you can send me a question, and you can send it to me via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Or you can hit me up with a private message or in public, I don't care, on any of the social media outlets. In fact, this week's comes to me from a friend of mine. He sent me a text. He says, I have an Ask Avery question. He said, and Scott actually has been on the show before. He lives in the CWD zone on the west side of the state. He's had CWD positive deer on his family farm. He said, why could I get free tags in the CWD zone to shoot deer all spring and summer? And now when I go to get my tags, I have to pay $20 to get a doe tag to hunt that same private property. I think that's an excellent question. And again, this is one of these questions that I can't answer. So what I do is if I get a question from the Ask Avery segment that I can't answer, I reach out to somebody who can. This time I reached out to Chad Stewart, who's the big game specialist for the DNR. You've heard Chad on this show here before. He said there are 2 ways to take a deer in Michigan. One is with a permit, and out-of-season permits are provided by our staff for conflicts, hazardous situations, and disease, like CWD. The other is with a license, which has to be done within the defined season dates set by the NRC. So there's 2 different types of licenses here. Permits that the DNR can issue at no charge. I'm thinking crop damage. I don't think you have to pay for crop damage or disease permits. And the other one, a license in a season that is authorized by the NRC. Licenses, he says, have to be purchased. Permits can be used free of charge. He says the exception is a DMAP, which has to be purchased and used in the season. I said, what's a DMAP? A Deer Management Assistance Permit. Those are $10. He says, this is Chad saying, we, the DNR, can issue disease control permits in season. We've done it before, but what we see is people choose the free permit and then not buy the license. He says, obviously, that doesn't get us toward our goal of increasing harvest. Keep in mind, the DNR said, Chad has said here on the show before, the DNR's goal is to take more deer. Their challenge is to take more deer to continue to manage the herd while the number of hunters go down. So Chad says further, he said, I am more concerned with managing deer, but license sales are important in keeping the lights on here within our agency. We have to sell licenses to get the work done, and those licenses must be used in defined season dates. So this leads to something. So, Scott, that should answer your question, right? But this leads to another interesting discussion. I hear this all the time. The DNR is only interested in selling licenses. That's what their concern is. They want to sell licenses. Chad Stewart right here admits they have to sell licenses. That's a major part of their funding. And with funding from the state government, the governor drying up because of COVID, because of those resources going into COVID, he admits license sales are more important than ever, but not at the risk, hopefully, of deer management. We're already seeing the impact of money drying up in the DNR with their lack of check stations, with their lack of CWD testing. They've had to strictly, severely curtail their CWD, their chronic wasting disease testing. It's an interesting situation in that we ask the DNR to manage these things, and we sometimes forget that they still have to run a business. And where does that money come from? Well, it comes from state tax dollars, which we all pay, and license sales. But I think Chad did a very good job of answering the question as far as there are two different types of ways you can kill a deer. You can kill a deer on a permit, which is free, which the DNR can issue to you, and you can also kill a deer on a license, which is governed by the NRC, which has to be bought. So, Scott Hand, I hope that answers your question. And congrats on taking an elk out west, by the way, my friend. Scott is a friend of mine. I hope to see an elk steak out of answering your question for you. If you want to send me a question for the Ask Avery segment, either something that I can answer directly or something that I'll have to pass on to somebody else like this week, you can send me that question via email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. In fact, you can hit me up with any question you want, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. You can always get in touch with me that way, or you can send me a private message or just post it publicly on any of the social media outlets. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook would probably be your best options because I'm out there on a pretty constant basis, sometimes, unfortunately. And I have to always thank my friends at Security Credit Union for working with outdoorsmen and women and realize that we have some different types of needs, some financial needs. They're willing to work with us on that. And I really appreciate their support of the Ask Avery segment so I can do this every week. Check out Security Credit Union online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk with Tom Lounsbury about his successful Michigan elk hunt and, of course, the upcoming pheasant season. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats and their partnership with the Real Men Wear Pink campaign, and wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner coming up right here in hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
It sure is Mike Avery, the big guy. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us. When I say that, I really do mean that. I know I say it every week, and maybe sometimes you don't hear it, or you get sick of hearing it, or think I don't mean it, but I do. There are so many different media sources that you could be consuming right now, watching right now, listening right now, whatever. The fact that you can hear my voice, whether the broadcast version of the show or the podcast, really does mean a lot to me. I've been doing this for a long time. People say, boy, you're getting up there, dude. Maybe you should think about retiring. Yeah, I've thought about retiring. And the answer I come back with is no. Why would I retire? I get to talk about the things that I love. Hunting and fishing and shooting in the outdoors and natural resources and this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle. I'll tell you right now, as long as I can get words out of my mouth, which some days even now is hard for me to do, as long as I can string some thoughts together in my brain, I plan to continue to do this. As long as stations will continue to clear my show, as long as advertising partners will continue to work with me, and I've been doing it a long time, and I just don't see a reason not to do it. In fact, I think in today's world, as we get so technologically astute, technologically advanced, as we get away from this outdoor lifestyle, as the number of hunters and anglers continues to decline, I think it's important that we who subscribe to this mentality, who believe in this outdoor lifestyle, I think it's more important than ever that we stand up for our way of life, that we promote our way of life, that we continue to portray ourselves in a positive manner. We are vastly outnumbered these days. And I'm not talking about the anti-hunters. I'm just talking about non-hunters, non-participants, people who just, because they didn't grow up that way or their lives are too busy or they live in the city or whatever, they just don't embrace this outdoor lifestyle like they used to. However, as we were talking about in the first hour, and we've been talking about the last couple of months, if there's one good thing to come out of this whole COVID situation is that people tend to be going back to their roots, going back to the basics, realizing that if you want to get away from everything, all the news bombardment that we get, and if you just want to get someplace physically safe and refresh your brain and get some fresh air, man, the outdoors is the place to go. So that is good. We are seeing that. As I was talking in the second hour, too, one of the things I really enjoy most about this show is the people that I get to talk with. Tom Lounsbury is a guy I've known for a long, long time. I consider him to be a consummate outdoorsman and outdoor communicator. I consider him to be a hunting expert, a shooting expert, and just an all-around interesting guy. And it's a pleasure to have him on this third hour of this week's show. Tom, welcome back. How you doing? How are you doing? There's one of those cases. I say, as long as I can get words out of my mouth, I'll continue to do this.
There you go, Mike. I'm in the same position. I've been at it quite a while there. But I'm just absolutely loving this fall. And, I mean, all the activities that we got going on now, it's just, it's no matter what you do, there's a whole lot to choose from, and I'm never disappointed in a choice. So
well, and a lot of things to talk about, including I think you just got back from Lake Erie, didn't you?
Yep, I was not Lake Erie. My son Joshua lives in Dayton, Ohio, and as long as you have a Ohio fishing license, non-residents can do that as long as they have a Ohio fishing license, a current one. You can apply for a special lottery, and it's near Castalia, and it's near the Castalia Fish Hatchery. But anyway, my son was able to take his 3 kids and my wife and I with him, and we had 4 hours, this whole stretch of water to ourselves, and he had won the lottery. And you get to keep up to 30, with our 6 people, we keep 5 trout apiece, but it's a mixture of rainbow trout, brown trout, and brook trout. And they're not tame fish. I mean, if they saw your shadow, you could see trout all over the place, but it wasn't like going to a trout pond. It was definitely fun. We ended up getting 26 trout in our 4-hour stretch, so we had a great time.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of fun, and kind of the crowning jewel on a fall that's been pretty good for you so far, Tom.
Oh yeah. It's really been good, and I managed to get my cow elk after 9 days of hard hunting on October 2nd, 10 minutes before quitting time. So.
This is interesting because a good friend of mine also had a tag this season. He had a cow tag.
That's what I had.
And he had a heck of a time. There were nights, Tom, when he was covered up with bulls, but he could not find a cow. And I always thought that a Michigan elk tag was a guarantee, but, man, you had to work for it, and so did my buddy.
Oh, yeah. My early season, and it's probably the same one he had, was into 3 4-day segments. Mm-hmm. And the first 4 days, it started September 1st to the 4th. it was 80-degree days, full moon nights, and you couldn't even find an elk track. And I remember even I was hunting with a guide on public land, and I wouldn't have done this without a guide because that's a vast area up there, and you never know where you can and cannot shoot. They give you a good map, but you better know. Anyway, it's quite a big area. But even private land, guys that had access private land were on public land because they just weren't seeing the elk with that kind of temperatures and that.
It's the same thing I heard. Same thing I heard. You couldn't even find a track. Well, my question is then, where did they go?
Yeah. And it just happened to be the guide had another hunter, Lou Levins from Sterling Heights. He managed to get a nice cow in the morning on that September 4th, but that was the only time we ever saw any elk. And then the next hunt I thought was going to be better, that one in mid-September. Because of a little cooler, color changing, and everything else. And that's when I started seeing bulls. I could have shot bulls every day. Never saw a cow except one. And it was right after the break of day. It was a herd of them, and there were calves. And when you tried to line up at 150 yards with a herd of elk, first of all, you're in deep trouble if you hit more than one elk.
Yeah.
And you'd have a calf getting in the way or another elk beside the one you were going to aim at, and then next thing you know, they're gone. And that was on the second hunt. My third hunt, I was really looking forward to it. That was October 2nd to the 5th. And we had frosty mornings. There was a 3/4 moon, but there was frosty mornings, and we were finding elk tracks. And I got a kick out of the morning Friday, the October 2nd. We had hiked in up a logging trail for a 1/4 mile, and we set up, and I'm on a tripod shooting stick. The guy's behind me. My son, Jacob, he went with me. He accompanied me on this entire hunt. Anyway, they're sitting behind me, and the guide's trail cam, his name's John Jones of Atlanta. Anyway, his trail cam said cows were going through this clearing at daybreak. And we're sitting there, and we hear a metal scraping sound. And all of a sudden, it's the trail that's beyond us. Up this trail, we see twinkling of headlights. And then next thing we know, this Chevrolet Equinox comes scraping along and missing ruts and stops beside us, and the passenger window goes down. And they had two little elderly ladies sitting there in their Sunday best. And they said, "Are you elk hunting?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, we're out elk viewing." And anyway, we had a little chat with them, nice ladies, and then away they went. And we thought that was quite neat, running into a couple elderly ladies in the middle of nowhere in a Chevy Equinox. But the ladies seemed to know how to drive it through there. So that was quite a morning. And they had every right to be there. It was public ground.
Sure. You talk about that mid-September hunt. The reason I would get so excited about that one, I think, is the fact that you're going to have bulls bugling. That would be quite an opportunity just to be a part of that.
Yeah, well, they actually, for whatever reason, that rut phase where they started bugling just started to start then. They were just starting in, and you would hear it on occasion. But it was more so, and my last 4 days, I knew was going to be it was my final chance. And boy, Mike, I've been applying. I applied for 35 years for a bull only. I started applying in 1984, never got anything. This year I applied for any elk after 36 years, and I couldn't believe it. I got it, and I was so happy.
That's the same thing my buddy Tony did. It was bulls only, bulls only. Finally, he said, "I want to get a chance at a Michigan elk sometime in my life." He applied for either one. Same thing happened to him. Hang tight, Tom. We're talking to Tom Lounsbury. I want to hear the story, the rest of his story of his successful elk hunt in the Pigeon River area. He also mentioned something about a full moon. You've heard my thoughts on full moon. I do not like to bear or deer hunt, certainly bear hunt on a full moon. I don't like it at all. I want to get Tom's thoughts on that. And, of course, we can't talk to Tom Lounsbury in October without talking about pheasant season coming up just around the corner, because he's the man when it comes to pheasants. So, pheasants. He is the pheasant. He is the pheasant whisperer. Ken Dalton is the pheasant. He was on with us last week. More with Tom Lounsbury after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Taos on WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us on the other side of the state in St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a safe, clean, water-resistant alternative to firewood. It's made from recycled hardwood, so it's safe to cook over. You can use it in your fireplace. You could use it in your grill. You can use it in your fire pit. You can use it to burn exclusively. That's what we do. I just burn Speedy Blaze. You can use it to start your the existing wood pile that you have. Resistant to moisture, as I said, resistant to insects as well. So you can travel with it around. You don't have to worry about dumping off your firewood before you get a chance to use it because you're worried about transmitting and transferring in insects. The website SpeedyBlaze.com. Not Speedy Blade. Speedy Blaze. Like a blazing fire. SpeedyBlaze.com is the website, SpeedyBlaze.com. Right now we're talking with Tom Lounsbury about a variety of things. But Tom, I want to talk more about your successful Michigan elk hunt. Last I'd heard you were out there, and these two ladies came along as you were waiting to hopefully ambush some cows. So what happened after that?
Well, we went to Plan B, which you always should have on public land, and we found some real fresh elk tracks. So it's fortuitous those ladies made us go to Plan B because we found some very fresh elk tracks, which included calf elk tracks. So we knew it was cows in the midst. And so we knew where to focus our efforts, but we did not see any elk that morning. But when we went out in the evening, we started focusing in that area. And I always got a kick out of my guide, John Jones. He's very amiable, but when he sees elk, he gets real intense, and he's serious. He wants to get you in for the shot. And 90% of the hunting up there in that Pigeon River country is, at least during the early season, I'm sure they do a lot of that during the later season when you got snow, but you drive around. There's a spider web of trails up there, and that's why I wanted a guide, because I didn't know where I was half the time, and there's places you can shoot and you can't shoot, so I wanted a guide that knew that area. But you drive around until you see the elk, and then you get out and you do your stalk, and you have your gun legally cased and everything. You have to get the gun out and get a couple shells in, and then you do your stalk, and hopefully it works out. And we did that on this one clearing. He spotted an elk. Well, it turned out to be a 7x7 bull. And he walked right in our direction, came right in, and then he laid down out in front of us, so we snuck away, left him alone. And a few minutes later, my guide said, "Elk, get your gun." So anyway, he had backed up. He spotted him, then backed up. Then we exited the vehicle, and we did our stalk. And I really needed his eyes because my owl eyes are gone. Now, this is 15 minutes before quitting time. Getting there. And anyway, he pointed the elk out, and it was 150 yards, and my son ranged it. It was 153 yards. I'm on shooting sticks, and you got to practice. Typically, your shots are from a standing position using bipod shooting sticks. Well, anyway, I lined up, and I said to the guide, it's a gut feeling you get. I said, I don't like this shot. I'm not comfortable with it. And he whispered for me to move to the right. And it turned out there were 3 cows on this hillside, and that had been the far left cow. Well, he put me on the middle cow, and my son said 130 yards, and she was standing fully broadside. But now it's getting really dark, and I lined up on her, and I really wanted to give her a whirl. I'm using a Ruger American bolt action in 6.5 Creedmoor. And anyway, I lined up on her, and then I whispered to the guide, "You don't want to make a mistake because spikes can be mistaken for cows. You shoot a spike instead of a cow on a cow permit, it gets real expensive." Mm-hmm. And anyway, I said, "Please re-verify. Am I seeing correctly?" And he whispered back, "Yes." And I put the old crosshairs on. I call it the sweet spot. My goal was I wanted to stay within 200 yards if I ever made a shot, and I wanted a broadside shot where I could do both lungs without messing around. And I put the crosshairs on the spot, and I touched it off. Well, that's when I found out, and I'm telling you, another minute, it would have been, even though there was a few minutes left of legal time, it would have been Tom's ending there because it was starting to get dark. Mm-hmm. And when I touched her off, the guide said, "Reload." Well, Tom couldn't reload because it was like a camera flash. Those muzzle brakes are not good muzzle flash or flash suppressors, let me tell you. Anyway, all I could see was lights. But anyway, and then all of a sudden he whispered, "She's down, she's down." And the beauty of it was we were near a gas well clearing, and she fell dead 20 feet within that access trail, so she was easy to get out. Lou Levin's elk that he got during the first segment, they actually had to take a chainsaw to be able to get in to get that elk out a quarter mile in. So, elk aren't easy. And I let my wife know that I got this cow elk. She's got to get the freezer ready. That's the equivalent of 5 white-tailed deer in the freezer. So. Fantastic hunt, and I got my ivories. People should know that all elk have. One day, way back when, eons ago, they had tusk, and they call them their eye teeth. It's in the upper jaw near the front of the mouth, and they're pure ivory. And I like my bolo ties. I'm going to have a bolo tie with elk ivories.
Nice. That 6.5 Creedmoor, I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that caliber before.
It's new to me. I've been reading up on it a lot, and I studied the ballistics and everything, and I talked to people that have used it out west, and I had the confidence it would do the job. I was using the Hornady 143 grain EDLX Precision Hunter bullet, and it hit the elk right. I call it sweet spot. Right, it was above the heart, but it did complete penetration. Looked like a pinhole on the entry hole. Had about a 3/4 inch exit hole out the side, so it expanded real well. But when we opened that elk up, the lungs were completely missing. They were gone.
Wow.
So it did a phenomenal job, and it has a real flat trajectory. I was dead on at 100 yards, and at 200 yards, I was only 1.5 inches low. So basically, when I with my 200-yard limitation I put on myself, all I had to do was hold dead on whenever I wanted to shoot.
You bring up an interesting point, too, is you've got to think of the logistics of getting an animal that size out of the woods, which is something most of us have never done before.
Oh, my. Even with easy access, this was not an easy cow. In fact, my son whenever, I got to say, for the DNR, whenever we ran into them, the conservation officers and the biologists, very out in the field, very professional, polite, informative. And it was Shelby Adams was the name of the biologist. Now, when you're up there in that Pigeon River country, getting a connection for your cell phone can be real challenging. But the first thing on order was to tag the cow elk, and then the guy, John Jones, notified dispatch. And he had them walk around that hilltop until he could finally get through. And then eventually Shelby Adams, a biologist, showed up, and they put a plastic tag. Once they verify you kill, put a plastic tag on it. And then my guide and my son went to get ATV with a trailer to haul this elk out. So I sat with that elk, and it was just a beautiful night. I'm sitting there, and I didn't have a gun. I all I had was a big flashlight, a mag light. And anyway, I thought after they left, it was going to be a while before they got back. I'm sitting there, 3/4 moon, beautiful night, clear skies, stars all over. and I hear some crackling in the brush behind me. Never saw anything, but then I thought, Tom, here you are. You're sitting by a fresh gut pile, a freshly gutted elk in bear country. This could get interesting.
And you mentioned that moon, and we're talking about the full moon on your first hunt. What are your thoughts on that? I do not like a full moon for hunting.
I dislike full moons for whitetail hunting, bear hunting, and I find out that it's not good for elk hunting. There's a whole lot of night activity when there's a full moon. I'm not sure about his mood phases or anything like that. But I've had my worst luck hunting when there's full moons. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't that first segment of the elk hunt. I really wasn't thinking, I wanted to be there to experience it. And I had a great time, made new friends, and but I wasn't counting on getting an elk on that first segment. And not many people did. I mean, there were elk taken, but not many. It was just finding a track was challenging.
Yeah, that's the same thing I heard from my buddy. And it's not what you expect. I mean, I, again, assumed that a Michigan elk tag was just about a guarantee. But, hey, it's even with a Michigan elk hunt, it's still hunting. They're wild critters. Oh,
they're wild critters. And my guide told me up front that getting a cow elk is 4 times harder than getting a bull elk. And he was absolutely right, at least in my case.
Now, why is that?
Well, the bulls, that when we saw them, they were getting ready into that rut phase, and they were kind of arrogant in a way, kind of nonchalant. I'm not saying that they didn't spook off and everything, but oh my goodness, I had opportunities at some fantastic bulls. The one morning we spotted elk and we snuck in through the brush and they were up on a hillside, and it was 2 5x5s, which if I had a bull tag, I wouldn't turn down a 5x5. But anyway, they were up there sparring. They were fighting each other. We watched them for about 20 minutes, and they were well within my rifle range, and they could care less about us down the hill. So but the bulls are wild. I mean, I'm not saying, I remember one person described probably hunting Michigan elks like walking out in the cow pasture and picking out your bovine and shooting, and that's not the way it is at all. These are wild animals. It's a wild area. Oh, man.
I know. I spent some time up there. It's beautiful.
Oh, that Pigeon River country is just absolutely gorgeous.
Tom, you know what? We talked this whole time about elk, and we never got to pheasant hunting, so I got to get you back on here in the next couple of weeks, and let's talk about pheasant hunting.
Hey, let's do it.
All right. Tom Lounsbury, congrats on your successful elk hunt. I enjoyed the story, and I'll look forward to talking with you very soon here about pheasant hunting in Michigan. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meat talking about their generosity once again. In part of the proceeds from the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks this year, again, we'll go to the Real Men Wear Pink campaign to fight breast cancer. Details on that after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on some long-time affiliate stations. WKBZ in Muskegon, that's 1090 AM. WPHM in Port Huron, 1380 AM. And in Saginaw, our flagship stations, News Radio 790, WSGW, and 100.5 FM. Now, I say flagship again with no disrespect to any of our affiliate stations, but I do have a very close relationship with the folks at WSGW. I'm in their studios right now. While I'm here, of course, it's called the Outdoor Magazine Studio. Charlie Root in here with me doing a wonderful job, as always, as he turns and waves to the adoring crowd. Outdoor Magazine brought to you in part by my friends from Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Fall cleanup now, things we're looking at. Getting your sprinkler system ready for wintertime. They're coming over next week to blow the water out of my sprinkler system. Then they'll be around for fall cleanup. Fire pits also, you want to take a look at. What a nice time of year to have a fire pit, right? Have a fire in the backyard, in the patio or whatever. Well, the folks from Reader can help you out. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. While you are online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. A couple more for you. Real Men Wear Pink and also MichiganBrand.net. MichiganBrand.net, the website of my friends, the Grillo family from Michigan Brand Meats, and Nick Grillo on the phone line with us now. Nick, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing pretty good, Mike. How are you?
Wonderful. Did you have any luck in the woods last night?
No, I didn't. Didn't see nothing, but, I mean, you can't beat a night just sitting in a tree.
That's for sure.
Still
That's
a great night.
Sure. Nick, last year, I want to remind people, when I was involved in the Real Men Wear Pink campaign to fight breast cancer, you guys at Michigan Brand stepped up to the plate, and you partnered with me on that this year. And I just found out you're going to do the same thing this year with our mutual friend Jason Wolverton over at the Forward Corporation. Tell me what you have going on, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. So last year we hit the 1 year, we started the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks just last year, right before October. So we said, you know what, let's do a little promo fun thing like this where all the sales for the Avery sticks for the whole month of October, let's donate a percentage of that towards the Real Men Wear Pink. So we ended up doing 5% of the sales, and that was all the sales for the whole month of October. And it came out to a good little check that we wrote for the Real Men Wear Pink campaign.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was awesome. So it was kind of a fun thing to do to kick off starting a new product and obviously doing one with you. And then we talked about it just a couple weeks ago, and we said, you know what, that went great last year. Let's do it again. So we are going to do the same thing this year. So that's for the entire month of October. Any package of the Mike Avery Peppered Elk Hunter Sticks, we are going to donate 5% of the sales towards Real Men Wear Pink.
Wow, that is outstanding, Nick. I'm not even involved in the campaign this year, and I really appreciate you guys doing that. Breast cancer is a thing that affects so many families. I know your family's been affected by it. Mine has been affected by it. So for you guys to step up and do this means a lot, and I'm sure Jason appreciates it, and so do I, Nick.
Yep, exactly. And Jason reached out and thanked us. He was really thankful for it. And like you said, it's just so bad because you don't find a single family who hasn't been affected some way.
Yep.
So, yeah, exactly. So any little thing like this is great. We had fun with doing it last year, so let's do it again.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, you can buy these Hunter Sticks. Jay's has them. All the Forward stations have them. Jack's has them. I think you've got a list on the website there at MichiganBrand.net. You can basically buy them all over the east side of the state. If you get in a jam, can you buy them online if you need to, Nick?
Yep, exactly, yeah. Yeah, we still find, obviously you reach a lot of parts of the state, which is awesome, but we got certain areas where we're not quite around, at least close enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we have people that are calling and looking for these specific sticks or just our product, and that's always the easiest and safest thing to do if we're not sure is we can ship it right to your door. Yep,
wonderful.
It's on the website.
Wonderful. And these, again, thank you so much for your generosity in donating to the Real Men Wear Pink. But thank you also for partnering with me a year ago now on these Mike Avery Hunter Sticks. And people love them. I can't go anywhere if somebody isn't talking about them or showing me a picture of them. They're really quite popular because they taste so darn good, I think, Nick.
Exactly, yep. Yeah, we've done these dried hunters like this, obviously for quite a few years, but this is one we came up with, whatever that was, a little over a year ago when we kind of just started playing with the recipe. And obviously when we talked to you, it's like, well, peppercorn for the jerky was one of your favorite things. So you said, I love some pepper. And then obviously with the elk, you can't go wrong with just hearing peppered elk. And then you throw Mike Avery in front of it. It's just perfect.
No, I've been known to eat a few of them myself these days. So, again, the website, MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net. And also American Cancer Society, you can do a search on Real Men Wear Pink, Mid-Michigan. You can donate directly to Jason Wolverton from the Forward Corporation. Or you can help the cause simply by picking up a bag or 2 or 3 or 4 of the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks, 5% of the proceeds going to the Real Men Wear Pink campaign. And Nick Grillo, everybody at the Grillo family of Michigan Brand Meats, again, thank you for your generosity, and always nice talking with you, my friend.
You too, Mike. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap it up with another friend of mine, wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. I think, if I remember right, he was going to do a venison recipe this week, but I don't know. We'll find out. Again, you can always reach me if you want on the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and you can reach me via email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com, or just about any of the social media outlets. You can also hear the podcast on the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com as well. We'll take that break, come back with Wild Game Chef Dave Miner, right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. Just a reminder, Outdoor Magazine brought to you in part by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. Plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, ductwork cleaning, you name it. Anything to keep your house, the mechanics of your house running smoothly, to keep you warm and dry. The folks from Wilds can take care of it, as they have for me for several years over 2 different houses now. You can invite them into your home and be absolutely secure and confident they will do a great job. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. You know, another guy you could invite into your house and be absolutely confident and comfortable that he's going to cook you up a great wild game dinner would be wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. David, welcome back. How are you?
Pretty good, Captain Mike. How's it going?
Wonderful, wonderful. Got back from the UP. Did not get my bear, Dave. It just wasn't meant to be, but boy, I sure had a great time. I'll tell you that.
That's great. You still got some time left, or no?
Nope. I'm done. It didn't happen for this year, but we're gonna turn my attention to deer now. But what I would like to do, if you don't mind, can we do another bear recipe before we move on to venison?
Okay. I got a braised bear steak, Diane, which is one lot of flavor. You know?
Yeah.
So. What you want to do is you need about 8 to 10 ounces of steak per person. You want to make sure you trim all the fat off and get rid of that and all the silver. So you're going to need to pound that out between 2 sheets of plastic wrap. A bread bag works real good. You don't want to put it on the inside. You don't want to pound the paint or the coloration of the bread bag into the meat, you know. Mm-hmm. So that would make it maybe taste funny or something. So. And you want to pound it down kind of thin. So what's going to happen, bear has a tendency to pucker up and draw when you're going to pan sear it, you know. So get it kind of thin. So you're going to need a medium onion diced up fine and a package of sliced mushrooms, about a 12-ouncer. I like to use shallots in this, say 3 to 4 shallots, a couple ounces of Worcestershire sauce, more or less to your taste. Couple of pats of butter, and you're going to use them butter at the end to finish this sauce. A couple of 1 to 2 jars of beef gravy, depending on how much of this you're going to make. If you're going to make a big batch of it, you're probably going to need 2 jars, but it freezes extremely well. You need a couple ounces of brandy and a couple of 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, olive oil, and flour. So after you get the steaks pounded out, dredge them in flour in a real nice hot pan. You want to brown them nicely. You want to sear them off really good so they're nice, got a crust on it, you know, on both sides. And so you can take them out kind of medium rare or whatever, because you're going to bake this for a long time. You don't want to burn the pan up too much. So on the same pan, you can add the onions, the garlic, shallots, mushrooms. Saute that up just a little bit to break the flavor. Those 1 to 2 minutes. Kind of stir it all the time so it doesn't get dark too much. You can put the gravy in there, and then start to bring that up, and you can add the brandy to it, and then the Worcestershire sauce also. Get that nice and bubbly hot. Taste it. Make sure this is what you're looking for, the flavor-wise. Pour this over the bear steaks in a oven-proof casserole, 350-degree oven. You want to bake them at least an hour, maybe up to 2 hours, depending on the age of the bear and, the size of it, like that. So, and when you're all done, that's when you want to stir in them couple of pats of butter, and that'll give it a nice velvety sheen to it and have a real nice coloration to it, as opposed to being just kind of drab in the pan. That's kind of, liven it up. So, and it's a great way to use bear steak. You got to bake it, at least hour to 2 hours.
It sounds wonderful. Now, you said something about this dish freezes very well. Is it because the bear meat freezes well, or this particular recipe freezes well?
This recipe freezes great. And bear is no exception to the rule about freezing. You could do this with venison also if you like, and that would freeze very well too.
But what is there?
Do it nice and rare. If you wanted to do it rare for venison, that would be fine. But for or you could cook it well done like this, and make it more of like a stewed or a simmered venison or a bear recipe. I wouldn't try the bear rare.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is there about bear that you really shouldn't eat it rare though? There's something there, right?
Well, trichinosis is in a bear, also wild boar. You want to make sure you freeze it for at least 30 days at 0, or cook it till it's well done. I forget, it's like 45 minutes to an hour at a boiling temperature to get rid of any of the trichinosis spores that could maybe cause it. I think it gives you intestinal tract, like diarrhea.
We don't need that.
Like that.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, David, listen. Sorry? I didn't hear what you said, Dave. I'm sorry.
I said, not when you're hunting. You don't want diarrhea.
Well, you don't want it anytime, I don't think.
Oh, that's true.
Wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner. Are we going to venison next week, Dave?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there would be no reason to do the show. And as I said earlier, I have no plans of slowing down, no plans of calling it quits, no plans of retiring. Now, I realize my plans are not God's plans, but, the part that I have a say in this, I'm going to be doing this for a while longer, and I could not do it without your support, and I do appreciate it. Check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can always reach me via email, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Have a great week, and I will talk with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.